Well, hey guys, Midweek Groups are launching in just a few weeks, and I am super excited to have you with us. Now, in the past, we've been really open with our groups, open about where they meet, what they do, and those kind of things. And I think that's been fun, but a lot of the feedback we've been getting is that people would benefit from having just a little bit more structure and guidance. So I want to make sure that everyone who wants to connect with a group can. So in order to do that, we've been working to develop a format that we hope will be simple, reproducible, enjoyable, and help everyone grow on their journey in the way of Jesus. Now, we've got two basic goals we hope to accomplish with our midweek groups. The first is that we want to help people at Austin Mustard Seed connect and grow with other people at Austin Mustard Seed. Any meaningful spiritual growth takes place within relationships, and we want midweek groups to help initiate and develop those relationships. Now, second, midweek groups help us keep prayer and scripture in our weekly rhythm. We all want to connect with God, and midweek groups help us do that by setting some time aside to do that together. Now, in order to do this well, groups will need a facilitator. But before we go over what that means, let me tell you a little bit about what happens at a midweek group meeting. First, and whenever possible, midweek groups should meet and eat in someone's home. Now, it doesn't have to be in the same home each week. You can switch off homes, but being in home creates an atmosphere, a welcoming atmosphere that springboards the relationships we're trying to create. Now, you don't have to have a fancy meal. It could be a potluck, ordering pizza, some simple snacks, but eating together is a simple and core practice to developing the relationships and sense of community that we want to have at Austin Mustard Seed. That's our first one, meet and eat in a home. Now, second is that we listen to Scripture. So each week we're going to provide a discussion guide that you can use to delve further into the text that we've used on the previous Sunday. This guide will walk you through the practice of Lectio Divina as well as use some other helpful discussion questions. We provide that as just kind of a starting place for a discussion leader to use in that group. Now, third, we want to make sure that each group has time to purposefully check in with each other. That means at the beginning of the group, spending a little bit of time hearing about people's week, maybe, and then group leaders will also help facilitate that, as well as some prayer time. Spend a few minutes praying together, try to get every single person involved, and even if you have to split into smaller groups to do it. Now, what you need to know before we go any further is that both our groups and our facilitator roles are time bound. So when you join a group or when you volunteer to be a facilitator, you're making a 10-week commitment. And we do that in order to just give people an easy chance to come in and out and be present to the best of their ability in the season that they're in. So you're committing for 10 weeks, and at the end of 10 weeks, you have a chance to kind of re-up, both as a facilitator if you want to, or to hand that off to someone else. You can also re-up with that group if you still think that that's what you want to be doing in your time and with God in this season of life. Now, each group should have a primary facilitator and associate facilitator. And this, like we said, is a 10-week responsibility, and that includes 5 primary tasks. Now, facilitators are not responsible for doing all 5 tasks. They're responsible for facilitating it, making sure it gets done, that the tasks are assigned and completed. Facilitators should try to attend as many of the 10 weeks as possible. That's just really, it's hard to facilitate if you're not there. And then at the end of the 10 weeks, they're encouraged to continue into the next quarter. If they can't continue, let Chris Morton know at least 2 weeks ahead of time, and that'll get us another coordinator or facilitator there. Now, the second thing, participates first thing. The second thing is that group leaders maintain a regular calendar of where and when meetings will take place. They communicate this by sending weekly text messages and email reminders. They assign facilitators. They assign meal or snack people. They pass on any important announcements or prayer requests. just all of those basic things to make sure that people get there and have a good time. Now, the next thing is that they track prayers, whether they're writing it down or have somebody else in the group write it down, just so we can remember, so we can communicate it with the rest of our church, and we can remember when God answers our prayers that we ask Him these things. Then the next thing they do is they develop associates. Now, a primary facilitator who is responsible for making sure these 5 tasks happen, and then they're working with an associate. Now, this is somebody who either wants to be a facilitator but maybe isn't ready yet, or maybe it's just someone who doesn't want the full-blown responsibility right at this moment. They might switch back and forth, but the primary facilitator is developing that relationship and teaching them what they know, and vice versa. And then finally, the last thing that a midweek group leader does is encourage others. Take time when you can to have fun with the group members, both be there at regular weekly meetings to do that, but if you can outside of that, that's fun too, right? Look for unofficial opportunities to spend time together. So, how do you know if you have what it takes to be a great midweek group facilitator? It's a good question, right? Well, there are 3 key features of a great midweek group facilitator. They are growing in faith in Jesus and in His way. A midweek group facilitator should be committed to growing in their faith in Jesus and His way. They've already demonstrated this through their commitment to the rhythms, practices of Austin Mustard Seed, and they have a history of sacrificial love. Now, the second thing that a midweek group facilitator has is a heart for hospitality. A midweek group facilitator is accustomed to making space for others. They know how to build relationships. They set aside time for others. They meet people where they're at, and they know how to make relationships with others that help them feel welcome and at ease. Finally, and this is really important because we're all super busy, is that a midweek group facilitator has the personal bandwidth to facilitate the group. There is some time and energy devoted to communicating with members and attending group meetings and completing the tasks that we've talked about. Now, they're excited because they know that their effort will bless others. And this will take approximately, probably 2 hours a week, as well as the time spent in the meeting. So consider that. See if that is you. Pray about it. And thank you. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for being a part of our church community. I look forward to discussing this with each of you. I hope you'll prayerfully consider if this is you and if you should be a facilitator either now or in the future. Thanks. Go in peace, and we'll see you throughout the week.